Welcome. Today we're going to explore something that's both profoundly simple and scientifically grounded, the idea that what is truly meant for you will come not through force, but through alignment. Now, I'm not talking about passivity or laziness. I'm talking about the biology of patience, the psychology of trust, and the neuroscience of letting go of hypercontrol. When we're constantly in a state of stress trying to force outcomes, manipulate timelines, or chase things that aren't flowing naturally, our nervous system stays locked in what's called a sympathetic dominant state. That's fight or flight, and that blocks creativity, intuition, and even proper decision making. But when we learn to regulate that system, when we learn to relax and trust the process, we actually activate parts of the brain like the prefrontal cortex and default mode network that help us see the bigger picture, make better decisions, and allow what's meant for us to find its way in. So today I want to guide you through a new mindset, one that's backed by biology, supported by psychology, and reinforced by real life. Relax. What's meant for you will come, and it will come more naturally when you stop gripping so tightly. Tension blocks clarity, relaxation restores alignment. This idea is more than just a feel-good phrase, it's rooted in how the human brain and body function. When we are tense, when we are mentally or emotionally tight, our cognitive resources shift into survival mode. Our attention narrows, our heart rate increases, and the parts of the brain responsible for long-term planning, creative thinking, and emotional regulation begin to shut down. We become reactive rather than responsive. That mental state may help in moments of real danger, but in most everyday life situations when we're trying to make decisions, pursue goals, or understand our path, tension becomes a massive barrier. When clarity is the goal, tension is the enemy. Think about it from a neurological standpoint. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain involved in decision-making, reflection, and problem-solving, works best when we are calm and regulated. In contrast, when we are stressed, the amygdala, our brain's alarm system, takes over. That shift is great for emergencies, but it's a terrible condition for clarity, insight, and higher thinking. We start overanalyzing, second-guessing, and spinning in circles trying to find answers with a mind that isn't capable of clear thinking in that state. Tension also disconnects us from ourselves. When we're overwhelmed or gripping too tightly to outcomes, we lose touch with our internal compass. We start to rely on external validation, external timelines, and the pressure of comparison. That creates a fractured state of being. We are no longer aligned with our values, intuition, or unique path. We're just running, pushing, and forcing. That's when people start making choices out of fear, not out of authenticity. Relaxation, on the other hand, is not just lying down or taking a break. It's a return to internal balance. It's a shift from external striving to internal alignment. When we relax, not in the lazy sense, but in the conscious, regulated, grounded sense, we reopen the doors of our awareness. The mind becomes more spacious. Options that were invisible under stress begin to appear. Ideas flow. Gut instincts feel clearer. Relaxation invites clarity because it puts the brain and body into a state where clarity is even possible. There's a difference between movement and misalignment. A lot of people are moving, taking action, staying busy, but their internal state is disconnected. Tension has them chasing instead of attracting, pushing instead of allowing, controlling instead of collaborating with life. In that state, the results might come, but at a cost. They lose themselves in the process. The price of chronic tension is not just burnout, it's misdirection. Now, this doesn't mean relaxation equals inaction. It means we operate from a centered place, not a chaotic one. When we relax into our values, relax into trust, relax into the idea that not everything needs to happen now, something powerful happens. Our energy becomes more focused. We stop leaking attention into worry and fear. Our nervous system stops sending false alarms, and in that space, alignment returns. Decisions become easier. Timing becomes clearer. We begin to feel a natural rhythm to our progress instead of chasing an artificial pace. The science supports this too. Practices like controlled breathing, mindfulness, and even just deliberate pauses have shown to downregulate the stress response and upregulate the parts of the brain that govern clear thinking and calm focus. This is not mysticism. It's measurable biology, your ability to make good decisions, to recognize opportunity, to feel deeply connected to your path. It all increases when your body is not flooded with stress hormones. In other words, clarity is a neurobiological state, and that state thrives in relaxation, not tension. Most people are waiting to feel calm after they get what they want, but the truth is they need to cultivate calm before they can even see what's truly meant for them. Relaxation is not a reward, it's a requirement. It's the fertile ground where insight can grow. Without it, we're just throwing seeds into cement. What's truly meant for you doesn't require force. This principle often challenges the way we've been conditioned to think about success, achievement, and progress. From a young age, many of us are taught that the only way to get what we want is to push relentlessly, to hustle constantly, and to never stop chasing. But this mindset can create a subtle form of inner violence, a belief that unless we are struggling, we are not moving forward. The truth is, forcing things into existence often leads to misalignment. What's truly meant for you has a rhythm and a natural flow, and when you try to control every detail, you interrupt that process. Forcing something is often driven by fear. Fear that we will miss out. Fear that we are behind. Fear that if we don't act now, someone else will take what we believe belongs to us. That fear creates pressure. Pressure to manipulate timing. Pressure to cling to things that don't feel right. Pressure to ignore our intuition because our ego is louder. But anything born from fear lacks the stability and grounding of something built from trust. It might work temporarily, but it doesn't last because what isn't meant for you cannot be sustained by force. There's a huge difference between effort and force. Effort is healthy. It's aligned. It's waking up each day with discipline and intention. Force, however, is when effort becomes desperate, when you override red flags, when you try to fit yourself into places you were never meant to belong, when you chase people, opportunities, or paths that don't reciprocate your energy. That kind of force drains you because it's not built on mutual alignment, it's built on scarcity. What's meant for you carries a different energy. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to chase it down. You meet it halfway. You do your part, you stay open, and it finds its way to you through a series of events, connections, and moments that feel guided, not manufactured. This doesn't mean you won't face challenges or delays, but the difference is, even when obstacles arise, something within you still feels right. You still feel connected to what you're doing. You're not acting out of panic, you're moving with patience. Forcing outcomes often blinds us to better paths. When you're obsessed with making one thing work, you become closed off to everything else. You try to convince yourself that it must happen this way with this person at this time. That kind of tunnel vision kills possibility. It creates resistance because it ignores reality. The more you try to force something that's not aligned, the more friction you create. That friction shows up as anxiety, disappointment, fatigue, or confusion. Those are signals, not signs that you're failing, but signs that something needs to shift. When you stop forcing and start allowing, life starts moving differently. You begin to see that opportunities come more naturally when you're not trying to manipulate every outcome. You begin to trust that timing has intelligence, that delays are often redirections, and that what is meant for you is already finding its way to you as long as you don't block it with control. You shift from chasing to attracting, from controlling to collaborating. There's also something powerful that happens when you relax your grip. Your self-worth rises. You begin to believe that you don't have to beg for what's right. You don't have to prove yourself for what aligns with your soul. You don't have to exhaust yourself trying to earn what's already yours in spirit. That internal belief creates a powerful magnetism. You become more discerning, more grounded, and more resilient. You start recognizing that what stays without force is real, and what leaves despite your effort was never truly meant to stay. Your nervous system is not designed to chase constantly. Biologically, the human body is wired for cycles, periods of activation followed by periods of recovery. When we operate in a constant state of pursuit, always chasing goals, people, approval, or outcomes, we override those natural cycles. The sympathetic nervous system, which governs the fight or flight response, was never meant to be switched on all the time. It's designed for short bursts of action in response to real threats. But in the modern world, many people stay locked in that mode chronically, not because there's danger, but because they've confused stress with progress. When you're always chasing, your brain releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Initially, those chemicals give you a surge of energy and focus, but over time, chronic exposure to them begins to wear you down. Your body becomes inflamed, your sleep becomes disrupted, your digestion weakens, and your emotional resilience starts to fade. Mentally, this constant state of alertness creates anxiety, impatience, and compulsive behavior. You stop listening to your intuition and start reacting to your fears. You're not moving from a place of vision, you're running from a place of pressure. Chasing also distorts your sense of identity. You begin to define yourself by the next thing you're after, the next job, the next relationship, the next milestone. And in that loop, you lose touch with the present moment. You stop enjoying where you are because your nervous system is trained to believe that peace equals falling behind. So even when good things happen, you can't fully receive them. You're already on to the next goal, the next problem to solve. This is not just a mindset issue. It's a dysregulated nervous system telling your body that safety can only be found in constant movement. There is a critical difference between healthy ambition and compulsive pursuit. Ambition is rooted in purpose. It respects the body. It allows for rest. It operates within the body's natural cycles of focus and recovery. Compulsive pursuit, on the other hand, ignores the signals of exhaustion. It confuses urgency with importance. It tells you that if you stop moving, everything will fall apart. That belief doesn't just damage your mental and physical health, it prevents you from ever truly feeling fulfilled. When the nervous system is regulated, you're able to access a different kind of power. You move with intention instead of impulse. You pause when needed without guilt. You respond instead of react. You make decisions from a grounded place rather than a panicked one. You can sit in uncertainty without trying to fill the silence with unnecessary action. In this state, the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, has room to do its job. This system is essential for long-term growth, healing, and insight. It's where clarity arises, where creativity flows, where your true self speaks. Many people are addicted to chasing because they fear that stillness means failure. But in truth, stillness is often where the most profound shifts occur. Your nervous system is designed to guide you not just in movement but in rest. It alerts you when something is off, it signals you when something feels aligned. But when it's overwhelmed by chronic pursuit, those signals get drowned out. You lose access to your own inner wisdom. You misread tension as motivation. You misinterpret exhaustion as weakness. You think you're being strong by pushing through, but what you're really doing is breaking your own rhythm. Learning to work with your nervous system instead of against it means honoring your body's cues. It means building your life in a way that includes recovery as much as action. It means allowing peace to be productive. It means redefining success so that it includes how you feel, not just what you achieve. When you stop chasing and start listening, you realize your nervous system was never trying to slow you down. It was trying to protect you from burning out in a race that was never meant to be run that way. Control is an illusion that most people cling to because uncertainty feels threatening. The human brain is wired to seek patterns, predict outcomes, and establish safety through familiarity. But when we become obsessed with controlling every detail of our lives, how things unfold, when they happen, who stays or leaves, we're actually fighting against the natural flow of life. This attempt to control creates internal tension, not peace. It keeps the nervous system in a hypervigilant state, always scanning for what might go wrong instead of allowing life to unfold in its own timing and way. At the root of the need to control is often fear of being hurt, of being let down, of failing, or facing something unpredictable. So people build routines, strategies, and expectations that give them the illusion of certainty. They think if they just plan enough, prepare enough, say the right thing, make the perfect move, they can force life to cooperate. But no matter how much you try to control things externally, you can't eliminate uncertainty completely. And the more you try, the more you tighten your grip around things you were never meant to hold onto so tightly. Control often leads to disappointment because it creates rigid expectations. You set your heart on something happening in a certain way, at a certain time, with certain people. And when life doesn't follow that script, it feels like something's gone wrong. But what if it hasn't? What if the very thing you're trying to control is the thing that's preventing a better outcome from arriving? When you try to force doors open, you might miss the ones that are already unlocked. When you chase what's not aligning, you delay what's already on its way to you. The truth is, most of life is out of your hands. You don't control other people's choices. You don't control timing. You don't control how others receive your energy or intentions. You don't even control your own thoughts completely. They arise from a complex network of subconscious patterns, memories, and perceptions. But what you can control is how you respond. You can control your openness to change. You can control your ability to let go when something clearly isn't flowing. You can control how much peace you allow yourself to experience in the unknown. Letting go of control doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming intelligent in how you direct your energy. It means knowing when to act and when to wait. It means knowing the difference between persistence and resistance. Sometimes the very thing you think you need to push harder on is the thing you need to release. When you surrender not from defeat but from clarity, your nervous system settles, your focus sharpens. Your mind stops spinning stories and your body comes back into balance. You start responding to life rather than reacting to it. There's a quiet strength in not needing to have all the answers, in accepting that you can be committed to growth and goals without obsessing over how they manifest, that you can move forward with faith rather than fear, that you can do your best each day, and then trust that what's meant for you is moving toward you even if you can't see it yet. This kind of mindset frees you from anxiety and burnout. It removes the need to overthink and overplan. It allows space for intuition to guide you and for life to surprise you. The more you loosen your grip, the more you allow life to bring you into alignment with what's real. You stop chasing illusions. You stop needing guarantees. You start trusting the process not because it's easy, but because resisting it is exhausting. You realize that your peace comes not from trying to control life, but from understanding your role within it. You show up, you do your part, you remain open, and you allow the rest to unfold. This isn't weakness, it's maturity. It's the discipline of surrender, which is one of the highest forms of personal power. When you force things, you disrupt the natural flow that brings ease, clarity, and alignment. There is a rhythm to life, a pace at which things are meant to unfold. And when you try to rush that rhythm by overthinking, pushing, manipulating outcomes, you create resistance. Forcing is not the same as effort. Effort is purposeful and aligned with your values. Forcing, on the other hand, comes from a place of desperation, impatience, or fear. It's trying to bend reality to fit your timeline rather than trusting that what's meant for you will come when you're ready to receive it. Forcing something can show up in many ways. You might try to make someone stay in your life even when all signs point to their season being over. You might hold on to a job that drains you because you're scared of uncertainty. You might try to manipulate conversations or outcomes to secure a sense of control. In each of these cases, you're using your energy to resist what life is trying to teach you. That resistance blocks blessings. It creates friction in your nervous system and clouds your judgment. You can't hear your intuition clearly when you're operating from force. The reason people force is usually rooted in scarcity. There's an underlying belief that if they don't act now, something good won't come again. That if they let go, they'll miss their opportunity. But what if what's meant for you is not fragile? What if it doesn't need to be micromanaged or manipulated? What if your only real job is to prepare yourself for it, not chase it down, not cling to it, not try to make it happen before it's time? This shift in mindset creates space for calm, for presence, for patience. And in that space, you can think more clearly and act more powerfully. Your nervous system plays a big role in whether you force or flow. When you're in a regulated state, when your breath is deep, your mind is focused, and your emotions are grounded, you move through life with greater awareness. You can sense when something is aligned and when it's not. You can feel when to push forward and when to step back. Forcing usually happens when your nervous system is dysregulated, when you're reacting from old fears or insecurities. That's when you make decisions that go against your own inner truth just to avoid discomfort. Sometimes life doesn't move as fast as you want it to because you're still being prepared. There are things you can't see, layers being built, lessons being internalized, paths being cleared in the background. When you force something prematurely, you interfere with that preparation. You might get what you wanted, but not in the way you truly needed it. And then it doesn't last. It falls apart. It exhausts you, not because it wasn't meant for you, but because it wasn't meant for you yet. When you release the need to force, you return to the present moment. You begin to notice what's already working. You stop chasing the next thing and start nurturing the current thing. You appreciate the quiet in between seasons, knowing they are not empty, they're essential. In stillness, you find clarity. In patience, you build strength. In trust, you invite alignment. That's when opportunities begin to find you. That's when people show up who match your frequency. That's when doors open with less effort because you're no longer trying to break them down. You're waiting for the ones that open with a touch. Letting go of forcing doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring differently, with wisdom, with awareness, with surrender. You move from a place of confidence that what's truly meant for you doesn't need to be forced into your life. It will come when it's time. Your only job is to stay ready, stay aligned, and stay aware of when to act and when to wait. When you learn that distinction, you save yourself from so much unnecessary suffering. You stop draining your energy and start attracting what fits naturally into your path. One of the most profound shifts a person can experience is learning how to trust the timing of their life. This isn't a passive resignation or blind optimism. It's a deep, embodied understanding that everything is unfolding at the pace it's supposed to. When you constantly feel behind, rushed, or desperate for things to happen faster, you create unnecessary stress on both your mind and body. You trigger the stress response in the brain, which floods the system with cortisol and adrenaline, impairing decision-making, creativity, and emotional regulation. Ironically, the more you chase time, the more time seems to slip away from you. The illusion that you're running out of time is one of the most common mental traps. Society creates timelines by this age. You should have this career, this amount of money, this relationship, this status. But these timelines are artificial. They're constructed from averages, comparisons, and fear-based thinking. They don't account for the uniqueness of your journey, your values, or your personal growth. Trusting divine or natural timing means stepping out of those artificial structures and aligning with something deeper and more personal, your own rhythm, your own path, your own development. Trusting the timing of your life also means accepting that delay does not mean denial. Sometimes things don't happen when you want them to because you're being protected, prepared, or positioned for something greater. The human brain is limited in perspective. It operates from past experiences and current patterns. It does not always see what's ahead or what would be best for long-term development. But life often sees further. There are lessons that need to be learned before a dream can be sustained. There are skills that need to be developed. There are inner foundations that need to be strengthened. When you accept this, frustration is replaced with patience. Anxiety is replaced with curiosity. Instead of asking, why isn't it happening yet, you begin asking, what am I supposed to be learning right now? That question opens the door to growth. It keeps you engaged in the process. It helps you notice the blessings and opportunities that are here in the now rather than always projecting happiness into the future. Life stops being a race and becomes a journey, a series of meaningful steps that prepare you for what's coming, even if you don't fully understand it yet. There's a deep intelligence in timing that is often invisible while you're in the middle of the process. Only in hindsight do you see why something didn't work out earlier, why it was necessary to go through a certain hardship, why that person had to leave, or why you were forced to change direction. It's only later that you realize that if things had happened in your timing, you would have missed something crucial. You would have arrived at the right destination without the strength to carry the weight of the blessings waiting there. You would have cracked under pressure or lacked the maturity to fully appreciate what you received. The nervous system is designed to operate best in balance, not in urgency. When you embrace the idea that things are unfolding at the right pace, you calm your mind. You activate the parasympathetic system. You become more present and receptive. You begin to spot subtle clues, recognize divine nudges, and feel aligned instead of anxious. This mental and emotional state makes you more effective, not less. It makes your steps more intentional, your words more powerful, your decisions more grounded. You stop being reactive and start becoming deliberate. There's an art to doing your best and letting go of the outcome. It's not about giving up control entirely. It's about focusing your energy on the things within your power, your mindset, your preparation, your prepper consistency. When you do those things and combine them with patience, what's meant for you begins to find you. Not because you're chasing it down, but because you've become ready to receive it. You've cleared the noise, silenced the doubt, and aligned yourself with a pace that sustains growth instead of forcing it.